All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. Session number 3, what we're going to dive into. And there we go. This is where the rubber meets the road in a lot of what we do is in this session number 3. Because of the nature of our business, meaning that we buy discounted notes. You buy discounted notes. One of the intrinsic challenges with it is that sellers want to sell at the least discount possible, and buyers want to buy at the biggest discount possible. But more importantly, buyers want to buy a good, healthy investment, which is rule number 1, called capital preservation. That's rule number 1. Preserve your capital, avoid losses. The only reason that big discounts are applied to any note in the note industry is really simple. It's because the note we're buying is high risk or higher risk, or was written or drawn up incorrectly. And that's why low offers are presented in our industry. There's no other way to look at it. Meaning that, the difference between buying a brand new car is one price, and the difference between buying a used car is another price. Well, why is that? Well, the used car has been driven. It's worn out. It's been beat up a little bit. It's got some miles on it. Maybe got some bald tires on it, things like that. Whereas the new car is brand new. We know that it's a solid investment. We know that that car is going to run for an indefinite period of time. The same thing is with notes. If you bring us a note or anybody brings us a note that has a high risk factor to it, it's going to be discounted at a deeper discount. That's all there is to it. Our industry has grown way beyond the days of buying things at 20, 30, 40 cents on the dollar. I don't see that happening, especially in the performing note space. I haven't seen that happen in probably close to 18 years. The other side of the coin is also true. The days of buying notes with 16, 17, 18, 19% interest rates are gone as well. And believe it or not, when I got started in the business, it was very common for people to create seller finance transactions with high interest rates in the teens. I've even seen them as high as like 24, 25, even 28%. And that was just 21 years ago. Now, a lot's changed in 21 years in our industry. And a lot's changed in 21 years in all of our lives. Case in point, we now have Facebook. We now have things like Craigslist. We now have things like Uber and Amazon and things like that. So our lives have been changed forever. Well, so has this industry. This industry has been changed forever. And it will continue to change and evolve as it goes on, because there are a lot of things that are happening in the background that are forcing the change. When I say force, I'm not talking about physical force. I'm talking about we're not interested in buying notes with 18% interest rates on them. That doesn't interest us. Why? Because it's simply stated, one, you run into some legal issues, but that aside, we've learned as an industry that buying notes with high interest rates automatically leads to a default. They will default on that loan down the road. So knowing that, why would you want to buy that? And we've just learned that through trial and error. I'm sharing it with you so you don't have to physically go learn that mistake, because as an industry, we've learned it. It doesn't work that way. Why? Because it makes the loan and it makes the payment too expensive for the homeowner. and that homeowner's not able to keep up with that type of a payment model. And so ultimately, when tough times hit, they throw up their hands and they quit. And they let the house go back, and me or you as a note investor ultimately end up taking the loss on that. I share this with you because it's important that if you're going to be in this business, and if you're starting at the note wholesaling level, which is a phenomenal place to start, and that you learn to think like an investor, so that when the day comes that you can buy your own deals, that you'll have the right frame of mind to buy the deals, that you'll look at it like any investor would look at it. You'll look at it like a mature investor would look at it. And you'll be able to see the pros and cons of every note deal that you buy for your own portfolio. I encourage that. I want you to buy your own notes. My goodness gracious, we got 1.7 trillion deals or dollars worth of deals to get through. I don't know if I'll get through even 2% of that in my entire lifetime. I don't know if that'll happen. Some of you may move faster. If you do, I encourage that. I want that to happen for you, because there's plenty of success and there's plenty of opportunity for each and every one of you out there. So I share that with you because it's important that even though you may be starting at a place where you've never done a deal, or maybe you've done a couple of deals, it's more important that you learn to think like that, so that you can not only, what's the word I'm looking for, accelerate your success, but also you can see opportunities when they come your way. Okay, you can see opportunities when they come your way. So with that, I want to pull up a new screen here and share with you. Let me see, where is it at? There it is. So in this business, there are a couple of milestones that you need to know when you're, I say, putting together your business. And one of the milestones is creating a very assembly line method to your business at the end of the day. And let me kind of go back here. Let me go back here and make this one bigger again. There we go. All right. So in the business of notes, you've got your house that's for sale. And then you've got your note that's created. And then you've got you. Then you got property. And then you've got the bank. And it works in this fashion. So when you're over here and you're talking to the person that remodeled that house, you're talking to the person who fixed that house, and they created a note with a new home buyer. How do you show this particular property seller who created this note that it's worth selling that note to you or to anybody else for that matter? How do you show that to them? And I'm going to share with you in this next segment one of the things that I do that shows them that the discount that they think that they're taking is not really the discount that they're really actually taking. And I'm going to share it with you first. Let me back up here because we get two ideas running through my head at the same time. I'm going to do it from this level. So if somebody comes along let's do this. Okay. So if the sales price is $100,000, and let's say the value is the same, and somebody comes along to buy this house, then they're a cash buyer. They're cash money buyer. Well, this cash money buyer may say, you know what, I like your house. I don't need you to sell or finance me. I just inherited some money. I'm going to buy this house, and I'm ready to go. But here's my offer. My offer on this deal is $94,000. Now, why do I come up with $94,000? Well, simple. The average discount on cash offers, according to the National Realtors Association, is that the discount hovers between 5.9 and 6.1% discount. So when people are coming in and they're saying, okay, even on the MLS, so if you go out today and you go to find a house and buy a house, and that realtor takes you around and you find one that your family's is going to fit your family's needs, the average price reduction that comes in the form of an offer is right around 6% nationwide. Some a little higher, some a little lower, but the average nationwide is 6%. So applying just that one aspect to it, which is documentable, somebody's going to come in here and say, you know what, I like the house. I'm not going to give you $100,000. I'll give you $94,000 for it, which is okay. But if this person has used a realtor on the property to sell the property, which happens a lot, you'd be surprised how many times realtors are involved in seller finance deals. So now you've got $94,000 offer, and then you've got commission of 6%. So what's 6% of 94? 55? $56.40. So minus $56.40. Now you're looking at $88,360. 360. Now you got minus 2% closing. Times 2%. That's another $33,760, which is going to net this seller let me back up here. Got 88,360 minus 3,760. 84,600. 84,600. Now, why is this important? Well, what was their original price? It was $100,000. That was their original price. What are they ending up with in the end? They're ending up with 84% out of their $100,000 sales price. So even in the end, going the route of traditional lending, traditional marketing, traditional realtors, even in the end, they're still taking a discount on that property. And this is very commonplace nationwide. It doesn't matter what area of the country you're in. It doesn't matter what housing market you're in. This would apply on a consistent basis in those marketplaces. So even the seller of the property is still going to take less for that house, even doing it through traditional means, in comparison to seller financing. So I share that with you because I want to share this next thing with you as well on how we drill down every time we talk to a seller. And let me pull this up here. So here's a templated letter that I use on a regular basis with sellers in the industry. And so when I'm done talking with a seller, and this is more along the lines of they've already created the note's in place. This is not so much along the lines of a simultaneous closing, but they've created the note's in the place. And we're talking about the assembly line method. They've created this, they've created the note, then you or me come along. How do I get the seller to sell that note to me without battling over the discount? I've already showed you, hey, if we go back to the beginning, it's worth 84.6. But if we don't have that luxury, which oftentimes we don't, okay, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. This is a different technique in the space. But we can come back to the seller and say, hey, if you would have done this traditionally, it'd be worth X. And it typically averages between 82 and 85% of whatever the sales price was. By the time you start backing everything out, it averages around 82 to 84, 85%. And I've done hundreds, if not thousands, of these examples for sellers. And it comes down to the same percentage-wise. The numbers change because the price of the house changes, but the percentage stays the same or is in the same range. So how is this any different than this letter? It's really not. It's just education and showing them, hey, Mr. Seller, this is something that ultimately can really boost your business. It can ultimately boost your, the time frame in which you flip these houses. So if he creates a note and he sits on that note for a year, it has X value. If he creates a note and he sells the note instantaneously or shortly thereafter, by the way, we buy simultaneous closings on a regular basis, so they don't have to hold them very long. The risk in creating the note and carrying it for, say, a year plus is this. It's simple. One, the investor's cost of capital fluctuates, okay? And then number two, the borrower's credit fluctuates. So they create something here, and this note has maybe the borrower's credit is 675. But then the borrower decides, hey, now we got this beautiful house, let's go get some new furniture to put in it. So what do? They go and run up credit cards. They go get like furniture store credit cards and things like that. All of that drives down their credit. And then they make their payments over time, which is fine, which will ultimately start to build back up their credit. But depending on when that person goes to sell that note, that borrower could oftentimes leverages their credit to go buy more stuff. But sometimes the borrower gets into medical bills and issues like that ultimately, tarnish their credit, which brings down their credit, which then in turn changes the entire dynamic of this situation. I just looked at a credit report yesterday on a property that's been, it's a land contract actually, and we pulled credit on the borrower, and although they've been paying solid for 4 years, their credit, one of the borrowers was 499, was the middle credit score, and the other borrower was 537, was their middle score. But they got 4 years worth of history, but unfortunately, it changes the dynamics of that. Now, that's going into it pretty deep. That's getting very, detailed about why the value of selling the note on the front side is much better than selling the note on the backside. And it answers that question that people often tell me, well, Troy, if I keep the note for another year, then you'll have to give me more money for it. And the answer is no, I don't have to give you more money for it because the law of averages is working against you. Why is it working against you? One, time value of money. And number two, and lost opportunity or opportunity cost. And then number three, you have no control over that borrower's future. You have no control over that borrower's ability to maintain their credit in a timely fashion. And that credit on that borrower is going to impact the overall value of that note. Even though they made payments on time, at the end of the day, that still has a powerful impact. Now, keep in mind how things change. And what I mean by that is simple. And that is people, when they do notes and they create notes, oftentimes they create them in an area that they live in. Pretty common sense thinking, pretty I say duplicatable model, meaning they're fix and flipping in their own area. Well, if they're fixing and flipping in their own area and then they're carrying back the note, that particular individual can drive by that borrower's house at any time and pick up their payment. But when that changes, saying that I buy the note and I put it with my servicing company in California and the note's in Michigan, then that Michigan homeowner now has to mail their payment to that servicing company. They no longer have somebody knocking on their door, making sure that that payment's going to happen. And so that's important to understand human behavior in this business, because it will play a role not only when you start investing, but also when you're talking to sellers at the end of the day. There's oftentimes I'll bring up, well, how many times do you swing by their house and pick up the payment? Oh, about every other month. Oh, okay. Well, you realize I can't do that. When I buy this note, I have to solely rely on that person's ability to put that check in the mail type thing. So I point these things out because I'm going like real deep with you guys today because I want you guys to understand the psychological backside of the business as well as the marketing front side of the business, which is your system, meaning your assembly line system. So you've got the property, you create the note, there's you wholesaling it to the bank. How do you get this note seller to agree to sell it to you when their goal is to minimize the discount and your goal is to buy it at a discount? Okay, that's the number one question. How do I convince the seller to sell the deal to me when they're trying to eliminate the discount in a lot of times, and you need to buy it at a discount because you got to put your fee in there as well. Okay, you got to put your fee in there as well. So here's how I offer these up. When I talk to a seller and I'm working with that particular seller, one of the things that I point out right away is, okay, let's break this down. And I usually put this on letterhead. I didn't do that in this particular example, but good afternoon, Don. I've finished analyzing and appraising your first lien note on the house located in Galveston, Texas. My offer to you for the note is $91,903 for the remaining 47 payments plus the balloon. Retail pricing means note buyer pays closing costs, okay? There's a difference between wholesale and retail. Retail pricing means I, as a note buyer, will pay all the closing costs, title, appraisal. We won't pay back taxes. We won't pay off any underlying liens or anything like that, but just the normal closing costs that go with it. Wholesale means that the seller pays the closing cost, okay? And it could go either way. It could go either way. It's all part of the negotiations. The current unpaid principal balance on this was $116,952.45. You've collected the down payment. Okay, you collected a $30,000 down payment. He had collected 7 payments equaling $12,000. You'll receive from my firm $91,903 for a total amount collected by you of $133,903 on this deal. This provides you with a net total return of 88% of the property sales price. This also provides you with a return of 114% of the unpaid principal balance. I've also exceeded your request of 77% of UPB by paying you 79% of UPB for your note. To receive your offer in cash, please sign below, and I'll have my office send over the contract paperwork to get this file into due diligence. Now, I'm going to dissect this a little bit and back up a little bit because of the importance of each of these items. Number one is the unpaid principal balance is $116,000. He's already collected $30,000 down payment. He's already collected 7 payments of $12,000. He's going to be collecting a payment from me of $91,903. Now, why do I want to remind him about the down payment that he's collected? Well, because he's already collected it. And chances are he's already reinvested it in another property, which means that it's no longer in his bank account. It's no longer in his hands. So it's an out of sight, out of mind situation. So I need to bring back to his attention, hey, you've already collected this money. Same thing is true with the payments. Don, you've been collecting payments for the last 7 months, and you've collected a total of $12,000 in payments, and it's had a very small impact on your unpaid principal balance on this deal. So you've already collected $12,000, and you've taken that money and you've spent it on whatever they've chosen to spend. This is very, very powerful because at the first of every year, we oftentimes, or most people, will be getting 1099s and W-2s and things of that nature. And what's going to be happening is a lot of people are going to be opening up these envelopes and going, I made how much? And the truth is, they're saying that because that's what they spent last year. You know, whether it's at a job or they were a subcontractor for somebody, or they're running a business and they got they did some 1099 work, whatever it is, they've been paid X dollars. But when they look at their bank account, that's not the amount of money in their bank account because they've spent it, they've reinvested it, they've paid bills, they've done all of those things. But that doesn't erase the fact that they've already gotten that money. So I want to bring back to the attention of the seller, hey, you already received this. So keep that in mind, and I just want to point it out in a fashion that itemizes all the things that they've already gotten so that they have a clear understanding of what they're going to be getting and what that looks like in the end. So me giving them $91,903 with a total collected by the seller of $133,903, that gives them an 88% of the property sales price. That's 4% higher than the national average. That's 4% higher than the national average. Because you can take any property in the country, and if they're taking if the national average is 6% discount on cash, and then you've got realtor fees at 6%, and you've got closing costs at 2%, you do the math. It just works itself out. You got 6 and 6 and 2. That's 6, 12, 14%. So that pushes it down to that 50 or 84, 86% range. And I'm at 88 on this particular deal. So that in itself beats the national average. That as a whole accomplishes and speaks directly to what the goal was for that particular seller. And so we've got them 88% of the property sales price. This also provided them 114% of the unpaid principal balance. That's a big one. That's a really, really big one. And then they've also exceeded their expectation of 77%. Now, how did I know that the seller wanted 77%? I simply asked them. I asked them, hey, what is your expectation for this particular deal? And oftentimes the statement that will come back is, well, I want the most amount possible. I completely understand that you want the most amount possible. But in our business, we're in the discount note business. And so if you'll shed some light on what it is that you need out of this, it'll help me to not only accomplish that for you, but to exceed that for you. And so by exceeding it for him, paying him 79%, it shows them I wasn't trying to lowball you. I'm not playing games with you. I'm simply looking at what the target is that I need to hit to put together a deal for you. Very much along the same lines, if you think about it, of a car salesperson. You know, the last Friday, my daughter calls me and I was at the gym working out. She's like, Dad, my car's in the service department. There's something wrong with the key in the car, and they're gonna have to fix this. And I guess I need some new tires and a few other things. But it was like $2,000 worth of repairs that needed to be done on the car. And she was asking me, hey, you know, should I spend the $2,000 on my car? I've only got a couple more months worth of, or a couple more years worth of payments, or should I trade it in and maybe get a new car? I said, you know, sweetheart, I don't know what the right answer is, but where are you at in your affordability factor? And she says, well, right now I'm paying $500 a month. I said, okay, so that's kind of where we need to be at again. Well, within an hour or so, I said, go into the dealership and tell them you want a car and you want to be at $350 a payment, you know, per payment. Well, the truth is they ended up getting in at about $408 was the payment on it. So she dropped her payment by $100, no money out of pocket, got full payoff on her old car, and drove out in a brand new car that night. Well, why was that important to understand for the dealership? Well, it's not that she was going to get $350, but if the dealership knew that she was in an area where she could keep the payment that she could afford, that they could get a deal done with her. Well, that's why I asked the question, what's your strike price? Where do you need to be? Because the truth is, I bought performing notes anywhere at 20 cents on the dollar, and I bought them all the way up to 97 cents on the dollar. And that's a big spread, but that's also over a 21-year period. So I say fast forwarding to today, what are our margins? Well, our margins are typically, performing notes are typically selling and being purchased at anywhere between 70 and about 92, 93% of unpaid principal balance. But that's dependent upon things like credit, down payment, equity, pay history, interest rates. All of those things come into factor. They're factors of putting together a deal. So when I explain that to the seller and I say, hey, Mr. Seller, I'd love to give you par pricing on this, but that's honestly not going to happen. And I know that you won't accept 50 cents on the dollar. Not that we're going to go there, but give me an idea. Are you between 70 and 80? Are you between 70 and 75? Are you between 75 and 85? Give me an idea of what that number looks like so that I can go to work to figure out the best way to purchase your note and accomplish that goal. If I don't know what the target is that we're shooting at, how can I ever hit that target? So give me a range. This is kind of what we're buying at. We're buying between 70 cents on the dollar and 92, 93 cents on the dollar. But that 92, 93 cents on the dollar is premium notes, meaning that they've got 10% down. They've got a year's worth of solid pay history. They've got a credit-worthy buyer that's north of 690 as a credit score. They've got interest rates on the note of 9 to 10% interest rates. They've got terms that are no more than 20 years. All of those things play to a higher priced note based on time value of money and the risk associated with it. Okay? Preservation of capital is critical in our business, as I explained once before. So the beauty of that is I never have a problem getting an idea of what their goal is and what their objectives are, because there's no way that I can help them unless I know what that is. I don't price things out for the sake of pricing them. And I often tell them that. I'm like, you're not looking, are you truly interested in selling this note? Is a question that I'll ask. And this is somebody that plays like hardball. So somebody plays hardball with me or hardball with you. One of the things I'll turn to is, are you really interested in selling this note? Are you motivated to sell this note? And they'll say, well, yeah, okay, well, what are you going to do with the money? And this ties into what I call their why. Okay, what's their why? Well, oftentimes they've already spent the money in their mind that they're going to get from the note on something. So I'll reverse engineer the question and I'll reverse engineer the conversation by simply turning around and saying, well, I understand that, we've got quite a range here, but let me ask you this. If I come to the table with a number that you can live with, what do you plan on doing with the money? And oftentimes I'm met with a very cheerful answer. And that cheerful answer is along the lines of saying, well, you know what, I've been wanting to buy a new boat. And summertime is just right around the corner, and so I'll probably buy a new boat. Could be, hey, I've got a big tax bill coming up. IRS season is upon us, and I've got to liquidate this note to pay some taxes. It could be, hey, we got some family vacations we're going to use this money on. Could be sending a child to college. It could be medical reasons. I've bought notes from people that had to get hip surgery. I bought a note from a lady whose husband was going to have heart surgery. So she needed the money to pay for his heart surgery. I've bought notes from widows who've inherited the notes from their husbands, and they don't have any idea what to do with them, and they're not even interested in keeping them. That was their husband's hobby. That was their husband's business. And now all they care about is traveling to see their kids and their grandkids. And that was something that they were limited on because their husband was working all the time or doing what he did. So they have a totally different vision of what their life is going to look like. That's a big why. I've done deals with people that are coming up on 50-year anniversaries. They want to use the money to go travel the world. They want to go to Europe and Paris and Australia and places like that. I've got people who wanted to buy new houses, meaning they're going to use the money on a down payment of their own personal residence. So all of these are what I call lifestyle whys. So when I understand the lifestyle why that they're looking for, in other words, I understand their why, it then becomes, okay, how much money do you need to do that? Okay, how much money do you need to pay your taxes this year? How much money do you need to take your wife on a 50th anniversary tour of Europe? How much money do you need to for your husband's heart surgery? How much money do you need to send your child to college? How much money do you need to put down on that brand new house that you're buying? How much money do you need for that boat that you've got your eyes on? All of those things are very powerful whys that you can use to finding out what that target is. Now, why is that target important? Because if you go about it not knowing what the target is that you're shooting for, then you'll never hit your target. Okay? You'll never hit your target. And the only way to find out what that target is to ask the question, is to plainly ask the question. And that will help you. Not only will it help you to understand your client better, but it will also help you to increase your closing ratios. It'll also help you to do more deals in general. Because now all of a sudden, when you understand what their goal is, their goal becomes your goal to help them accomplish that. And if you help them accomplish that, like I did with Dawn, now all of a sudden it's a lay down deal. It's a no-brainer deal for me and for Dawn. It gives me plenty of opportunity to not only support him in his goals as well as any other customer, but it also makes that goal a reality. Okay, it brings it to life. It brings it that it becomes a huge possibility. And that's the type of stuff that you want to be involved in. Those are the crazy good things that happen in our business at the end of the day. Because now you play a very vital role in that. And by the way, what I'm sharing with you right now, this applies to whether you're wholesaling notes or whether you're investing in notes yourself. At the end of the day, if you don't have a strategy that works with that seller is not going to sell it to you. I'm just sharing with you just a couple of strategies that I have that have increased our sales and conversions over the last 12 months. Because when you figure out what your seller wants and then you can deliver upon that, now all of a sudden it's go time. Everybody's on the same page. Everybody's excited. You've got the cooperation of the seller. You've got a seller that wants to participate with you. You've got a seller that wants to run alongside with you and say, hey, you know what? You're right. I do want to sell this note. And I want to sell this note so that I can take my wife on a 50th anniversary cruise or a trip around the world, or my son's going to college and I need to put some money down in college, or my daughter, somebody's going to college, or we've got some medical expenses that are unexpected, and this $800 a month or $1,000 a month is not going to help us to overcome these medical expenses that are coming at us full force. So you help them to solve problems, but you also get rewarded and richly rewarded in the process of doing so. And that's one of the greatest things about our business, at least for me, and has been forever, is that because I solve problems and I make dreams come true, I get richly rewarded during the process. See, the area of real estate and the area of notes and yield calculations and everything else, which is what everybody teaches. And you know what? And I've made the mistake of teaching it too. So this is not a slam against anybody. Are easily taught because they're just mathematical calculations. But how do you get that mathematical calculation to transition into a payday? Well, you have to go through people. You have to. Because this gentleman that owns this note is a person. There's a person behind this note. There's a seller and there's a home owner behind that note. There's people. So mathematically, the mathematical calculations that go with that note are literally a 30-second, maybe 2-minute process, which is what everybody teaches. And that was that aha moment last year. I'm like, wait a minute. This is what everybody's missing. Everybody understands the math. Everybody understands time value of money. Everybody understands yield calculations and fulls and purchase or partials and things like that. But what they're missing is how do they bridge that gap and close down the relationship side of it? How do they connect with that seller? How do they meet that seller where that seller's at? And that seller's dream becomes their dream. Every deal I do, I have to adopt that seller's dream. Whether I'm ever going to experience it or not, I'm definitely going to experience it through them in a vicarious fashion. But I still have to adopt their dream. And that's really powerful. That's really exciting. That's really fun because I learn a ton of things about people in doing it that way. I learn a ton of things about getting to know them, getting to know their goals and their dreams and their passions. And that to me is super exciting because I learn a ton of things about people and that the business is more relational than it ever is analytical. Okay, a lot of people come to our industry because of an analytical aspect to their personality, and that's awesome. That's great. So once they understand the math, and once they understand, a mortgage worksheet or how to use a calculator or something like that, now they're kind of stuck out on their own island in regards to how do they transition into monetizing that information? How do they monetize that knowledge? How do you turn that money that you've spent on that education and that class and that training or that seminar or webinar or whatever it is that you've learned from? And I know some of you have learned from me and some of you have learned from other people. And so collectively speaking, how does it transition from just knowledge and transitions into a payday? And that's where the human interaction comes from. That's where the connection comes from. So you have to, initially you talk to the person about the numbers, meaning these numbers here. Hey, Don, look we've got these things. And that opens up their eyes. But more importantly, Don, what do you plan on doing with $91,000? That's a lot of money. Are you going to put it in Bitcoin? Are you going to go buy a new boat? What are your plans? Now that it's really possible, and now that I'm going to be writing you a check for $91,000, what are you going to do with it? And then you start to learn that part of it, and you connect. Let me close down this session here for us. So I shared with you guys in the last session about what my goal is for 2018. And my goal is to help 500 investors build $1 million business, to do $1 million in transactional history. I did $1 million in transactional history when I got started in the business in the first 9 months of being in the business. Okay. We didn't have the internet, or we had the internet, we just didn't use it because it wasn't as user friendly as it is now. We didn't have things like Craigslist, and we didn't have things like, banks lining up to buy product, and we didn't have things like the letter I shared with you or anything else. We didn't have any of that stuff. And that And that made it more challenging. We had to mail out letters, and we had to mail out postcards, and we had to mail out pamphlets and flyers and do things like, very different than we can today. And so accomplishing this goal and setting this goal, and it's a lofty goal, and there's nobody else in the industry that's set out this type of a goal ever for anybody. And so I'm doing it because my goal ultimately is to disrupt the industry and take our very poor success rate and improve upon it. I don't know that I can hit 100%, but I know I can do better than what the industry's been doing. And so I decided to create my own inner circle. I didn't want it to be a $20,000 or $15,000 or $12,000 type inner circle, which I could very easily do given the amount of content and the amount of support that I'm going to personally be giving every single person. I could very easily do that and could be very successful in selling it. But that wasn't the purpose behind it. That wasn't the goal. The goal is to make it affordable and to put it together in the form of payments so that people could not only pay as little as $13 a day, but not only they're doing it in chunks, but they're ultimately creating success in closing deals along the way. So rather than paying me or somebody else $5,000 or $7,000 or $8,000 up front, now you just simply pay as you go, and you can cancel at any time. We're not here to hold anybody hostage. If it's not something that you want to do, or you get to a certain point and you're done, then we're grateful for the time that we've spent together. But more importantly, we're excited that you're off and running and that now you got the wings so you can fly in your business. We're in a $1.7 trillion industry, and that's conservative. So there's plenty to go around with everything and every opportunity for everybody out there. So what are we going to be covering in our inner circle? We're going to be doing weekly live calls, video calls, just like this, live. And we're going to be doing that every week. We're going to be doing monthly marketing videos. So when we're not doing video calls, I'm going to be doing some marketing videos where I'm going to be showing you the marketing strategies that we're using. Case in point, I just shared one with you right there. I'm going to be sharing with you more of that so that you can go out and apply that to your business and you can just exponentially grow your business. We're going to be doing live recorded calls. When I say live recorded calls, I'm going to be recording live calls that I do with sellers from Craigslist, sellers from our website, sellers from our mailing, sellers from every aspect of marketing that we have. I'm going to be doing calls with those sellers, and we're going to record them, and then we're going to transcribe them so you can use the transcription as a script for you so that you can just level up your business all along. If you're an audio person, like I'm an audio person, you can listen to the audio version and absorb it in that fashion. We're going to be doing unlimited email support with everybody that's in the inner circle. We're also going to be we built a Facebook website or Facebook, group, private group, and it's private. And that way everybody's constantly supporting each other in between the calls. We've also built a student website where you're going to get access to where we're going to repost all the weekly calls. We're going to post the marketing videos. We're going to post the recordings from my calls with sellers. We're going to post the transcripts. Anything that I debut into the family, the Inner Circle family, is going to be posted on that website, and it's going to be a membership pass only website. So you can go in there, you can use the tools and the resources, and we're going to show you systems on what that looks like and how that works towards improving your closing ratio and your closing business. So $13.03 a day. And the beautiful thing about that is it's got you can cancel at any time. You can cancel at any time. All you have to do is go and sign up. We're going to start next week. We're going to start our weekly calls next week. So the important thing is that you get in early. We've already lined out the topic matters for the next 90 days on what what I'm going to be talking about every Wednesday in our calls. And the importance of that is that we're lining out to fast track your business here in 2018, showing you where you can go and get deals, showing you how you can work with sellers. If you run across a challenge with a seller, now you can email me and I'll get on the phone with you and help you close that seller. I'm only doing that type of support for Inner Circle family members. Now, and I do that because the truth is, it may take a while for us to build up the library inside of the membership site. And I don't want you to miss out on any deals. So if you have a seller and you're not quite sure what to say to that seller, then you and I and that seller are going to schedule a time where all three of us can talk about the deal that you're doing with that seller. And I'll help you close the deal, and you can keep 100% of the profits. Okay? You can keep 100% of the profits. If you want to send me a thank you card, that would be greatly appreciated. I always like gratitude at the end of the day. But you get to keep 100% of the profits. We'll JV on deals. Okay? If you've got money and you want to JV and you want to do some stuff, then we can JV on some deals at the end of the day. So these are all the benefits of being part of our Inner Circle family. And like family, we've got each other's back. Like family, we're supporting each other. Like family, we're building each other up. Like family, we're helping the business grow. Your business, the person next to you, their business. Why can we do that? How can we do that? Simple. If everybody just focuses in on their own territory, meaning their own area, like I live in Phoenix. If I focus in on the Phoenix marketplace, I've got plenty of business just for me. If you're working Georgia and some person's working Florida or Tampa, in all these different cities, and people are working their cities, ultimately it's going to produce a massive amount of success because we're going to get into a ton of other techniques inside the Inner Circle that will show you how to be the major player in the field of notes in your city, each individual city. Go ahead and you can go over to www.jointroyfullwood.com. That's www.jointroyfullwood.com. Hey, it's $13 a day. That's less than a lunch for every day to be inside the Inner Circle. You can cancel at any time. We're not here to hold people hostage. We're here to work with people that want to grow their business. And if that's a passion of yours in 2018, if you're tired of struggling, if you're tired of trying to figure it out, then come and join us. Come and be a part of this with us, because the value is going to far exceed any amount of money that you pay. See, I'll leave you guys with this one last comment, and that is, what is the cost of the lost opportunity? What does that cost to you? See, and what I mean by that is this. Oftentimes we try and get education and knowledge and things like that from free things like YouTube and other blogs and posts and stuff like that. While we're spending that time trying to figure all that out, that equals lost opportunity cost. And if it takes you 10 hours to figure out something, and the average wage is, say, $15 an hour, you just had a lost opportunity cost of $150. That's half of what you would pay to be in this Inner Circle and ultimately get the immediate answers to the questions so that you can streamline your business and grow your business. As well as I'll help you to avoid dead-end paths. I'll help you to avoid going down roads that won't work, because I made a ton of mistakes in the last 21 years. So I can easily speak to things that work and things that don't work at the end of the day. And I don't want anybody to go down roads that don't produce some kind of result. So come and join us. It's less than it's $13 a day, $13.03 a day, which is less than lunch. And you're going to get not only the weekly calls, you're going to get the monthly marketing, you're going to get the monthly calls, live calls, recorded live calls that I'm going to be doing with sellers. You've got the Facebook private member site. You're going to have the membership site where it's a password protected, where we're going to be storing all types of goodies and tools and resources for you to use and grow your business. And keep in mind, you won't ever have to buy another training again. Okay? This is designed so that you don't ever have to buy another training ever again. And like I said in the first portion of our series today, we're not going to keep making trainings anymore. That's not something that we feel really passionate about. Now, that doesn't mean we won't make a couple down the road or something like that if it warrants doing it. But what we really are going to be focusing in on in 2018 is taking people that want to grow their business and helping them grow their business. And we've made it affordable so that we can do it in a group environment, so we can work together as a family and accomplish more together than we would on our own. Because being a lone wolf and trying to figure out things on your own is a very, very challenging uphill battle that nobody should have to go through when there's an industry of this size, 1.7 trillion, and there's opportunities like this to work together. If you choose to go that route, then that's a choice on your own, but you don't have to do that anymore. And I learned that by talking to a lot of people this last year who felt that they had gone through trainings, they had gone through seminars, webinars, events, and all this other stuff, and that they still felt alone, that they didn't have any support, or that their support was less than ideal. And so they were at a loss on how to grow their business. They wanted to grow their business. They were excited about growing their business. They were willing to put in the time and the effort to grow their business, but they didn't know the direction to go in their business. And there's no more of that. There's no more of that for anybody inside the inner circle, because we're going to point you in the direction to help you accomplish that goal. As a matter of fact, 500 people doing $1 million in transactions each is going to produce some life-changing results for every single person. Now, I know these are lofty statements, but trust me when I say this. Doing $1 million in transactional history in 12 months is a very easy milestone to reach with the right coaching, with the right directives, with the right tools. And we're here to make that happen. We are going to disrupt the industry. We are changing the industry. And no more are we doing the things that we used to do, because they're not producing the results that people are seeking and looking for. And for that, first and foremost, I want to apologize for my role in it, because I played a role in it as well. I did it out of the goodness. I didn't realize until recently what was actually happening. And as I look around the other people that are in the industry, they're good people too. And I know that when they figure out what I'm doing here, they're going to try and copy this model. They're going to want to copy this model, because this is going to produce a higher level of success with people. So with that, come and join us at www.jointroyfullwood.com. And with that being said, we're going to, pause, take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with each and every one of you. Have a great, we'll see you soon. All right. Bye now.